Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a massive shift happening right now in the business world. We're talking about the transition from just renting an audience on social media to actually building a powerful, owned brand community. Honestly, this is an absolutely crucial evolution for any brand that wants sustainable long-term growth. So let's kick things off with a tough question, and I want you to really think about your current marketing efforts. Do you have a community or just an audience? Because, if you've spent years racking up followers and pumping out content optimized for reach, you probably feel like you have a community. But do you really? A massive follower count doesn't mean you have a community. It just means people are watching. Let's look at the stark contrast between these two models. With an audience, you're basically just broadcasting. It's a one-way street, a company talking at passive consumers. It's purely transactional. But a true community? That is completely different. Communication there is multi-directional. You're talking to members, sure, but they're talking back to you, and this is the real magic part, they're talking to each other. The whole dynamic shifts from transactional to active, ongoing participation. All right, let's jump right into Section 1, defining true brand communities. So what exactly is it? Well, according to Harvard Business School, a true brand community is a space where people with a strong emotional connection interact. Notice that word? Emotional. The product itself is really just the starting point. The real connection develops around shared goals and shared passions. Your members aren't just consuming your information, they're sharing their own experiences, they're solving problems together, and they're literally helping shape the future of your brand. Now, to truly get this, we have to unlearn some bad habits. We need to define what a community is not. Having thousands of email subscribers is fantastic, but a newsletter is just a distribution channel. Same goes for a basic support forum. If users only pop in when their software crashes and bounce the second they get an answer, that is not a community. And loyalty points? They drive repeat purchases for sure, but they don't give people a social or emotional reason to actually stick around and engage. Which brings us to Section 2, the real business value. Why is this such a boardroom imperative? Let's look at the beauty brand Glossier. They are a masterclass in this. They developed an incredibly close dialogue with their audience and used those community insights to literally design their products. They evolved everyday consumers into active co-creators. When you empower your customers to participate like that, it directly fuels faster innovation. Plus, those co-creators feel a deep psychological ownership and emotional commitment to the brand. They're totally invested. So the business benefits here are just immense. We're talking way beyond basic loyalty. We're talking drastically better long-term retention. Because if you give customers continuous value after they buy, through great onboarding, access to experts, that sort of thing, the relationship becomes an ongoing journey. Plus, you get a constant stream of direct feedback instead of relying on one-off market research surveys. And my absolute favorite part, your experienced members actually start answering questions for the newbies. That's peer-to-peer support, which takes a massive load off your official support team. And let's not forget that user-generated content is the absolute ultimate social proof. Look at GoPro. They built their whole empire by encouraging customers to share their wild, creative videos. Because let's face it, we trust real experiences from fellow users way more than some polished corporate ad. GoPro wasn't just selling a chunk of plastic and glass. They're using their community to connect that camera to a shared identity based entirely on adventure. Okay, so we know the why. Let's move into Section 3. Step-by-step community building, and lay out an actionable roadmap to get this done. You have to start with a rock-solid strategy. Phase 1 is defining your primary business objective and picturing exactly who your ideal founding members are. Then, Phase 2, picking your platform model. Is it open to the public, invite only, and how are you organizing the space? Phase 3 is a big one, launch prep. Do not, under any circumstances, launch an empty platform. You need seed content ready to go and designated roles like community managers. Finally, Phase 4 is where the magic happens, culture building. You do this through repeated rituals, like a weekly Q&A or a monthly expert session. That is how a culture is born. But how do we know if it's actually working? Let's hit Section 4, measuring what actually matters. Listen, registration numbers alone are a total vanity metric. Having 20,000 signups but only 100 active people is way less valuable than a tight-knit, highly active group of a few hundred specialists. So, mapping the journey, you start with acquisition. Where did they come from? But you quickly have to look at activation. Did they even fill out their profile? Next is engagement. Are they actually replying to other people? And retention. Are they still coming back 90 days later? But the absolute holy grail is not bottom row, business impact. This is how you prove tangible ROI. We're talking things like higher customer renewal rates and tracking the exact number of official support tickets you avoided because peers helped each other out. All right, shifting gears to the tech side, here is Section 5, the Atrium Platform Enabler. Let's look at how you actually host this thing. We have to talk about control. Social media is fantastic for getting discovered, sure, but you are effectively renting that space. You're entirely at the mercy of their algorithms to decide if your members even see your posts. You have limited access to your own data, and your branding is restricted. But an owned platform, that secures your community as a long-term protected business asset. You hold the keys. You get complete influence over the structure, the rules, the branding, and crucially, you own the direct relationship with your customers. And that leads us to a specific technical enabler mentioned in our source material today, Atrium by Linksbreed. This is a really fascinating piece of Linksbreed's broader Web4 infrastructure. Think of it as a dedicated hub to bring all your community extensions together. It's an AI-assisted service built specifically to help an organization create its own dedicated social network, or even a super app. It's exactly the kind of tool that bridges the gap from a rented audience to a wholly owned space. So why consider a tool like this? Well, for starters, Linksbreed says the initial AI-assisted setup takes roughly 30 seconds to generate your foundational environment. 30 seconds! But the real game changer is the modular plugin approach. This means you can just snap in new features as your network evolves. Need media tools for creators? Pop it in. Need a professional directory? Add it. And it's got OAuth 2.0 support, which is just a fancy way of saying your users get a seamless, single sign-on experience across all your other company services. If we look at a realistic deployment timeline using a platform like Atrium, it maps out like this. Phase 1 is locking in your strategy and spinning up the platform at web4.community. Phase 2 is customizing your branding and again, planting that seed content so your new home doesn't feel like a ghost town. Phase 3 is absolutely non-negotiable. Do a closed pilot. Bring in 20 to 100 trusted founders to test the waters and work out the onboarding flow. Only after that's smooth do you move to Phase 4, the big public launch and continuous operation. But I want to pause here because this is absolutely vital to remember. The platform is just the enabler. It is not the strategy itself. Technology provides the room, the slick profiles, and the discussion boards. But technology literally cannot manufacture trust. It can't code a sense of belonging. Real culture, that only comes from your organization's commitment to a clear purpose, consistent moderation, and genuine, repeated human interaction. So I'm going to leave you with one final thought to provoke your next steps. Stop treating your customers like mere transactions and stop looking at your followers as just reach metrics. What are you doing right now, today, to turn them into actual co-creators? It is time to start giving your audience a meaningful place to belong, participate, and contribute. Because at the end of the day, that is exactly how a passive audience transforms into a fiercely loyal community and how that community becomes your most powerful, lasting business asset. Thanks for joining this explainer.